Thanks, Ceann Corla. Taoiseach, for more than 150 days now, over 1,000 Debenhams workers have waged a truly inspiring and heroic struggle for a just settlement following the ruthless and cynical behaviour of Debenhams, their employer, to execute a tactical liquidation in order to leave those workers who'd given decades of service absolutely high and dry without a penny. Because of their struggle, they have forced the issue of the injustice done to them to the top of the political agenda. And although we have had sympathy from the government continues to hide behind various excuses to do absolutely nothing to actually resolve the dispute and ensure those workers get justice. This morning, Micheál Martin on the radio said we cannot invent a scheme in order to give justice to these workers. Now, I want to strongly challenge that. First of all, the Debenhams workers are in the plight they are in because of the failure specifically of the government you led to address the issues that arose from clearies and other types of tactical liquidations over many years. So you specifically, Taoiseach, and your department have a responsibility, moral responsibility, to get a just settlement for these workers. And the claim that this cannot be done is belied by the fact that although KPMG made an absolutely insulting offer of €1 million for 1,000 workers for decades of service, the fact they could make any offer at all proves it can be done. If they can offer 1 million, they can offer the 13 million that's needed to give the 2 plus 2. And it is absolutely unconscionable that Revenue would not waive its position as creditor when it's owed 20 million, when Revenue has benefited from the taxes paid by those workers for 24 years, which would more than cover the cost of actually putting the Debenhams workers to the top of the creditors list instead of Revenue. And then for the government to go after Debenhams, a company KPMG says has no assets, but actually it turns out has 95 million in the bank, has a 2.2 billion turnover, and in the last week or two revealed that they had 50 million more than they thought they had, who are hiding behind subsidiary companies to load debt on Debenhams in order to avoid paying workers a just settlement. So your excuses will not fly. The workers in Cork this morning have ended their occupation and have decided to put the focus now on the government and the responsibility of the government to give them the just settlement that they deserve and which you are responsible for, given that you failed to legislate on Duffy cattle during your years in government. Thank you very much,
Deputy Taoiseach, please.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Deputy, for raising this question. First of all, I want to say that I think the former staff of Debenhams have been treated very badly by their employer in the way these redundancies came about, and they have our sympathies. And like a lot of people, I've been impressed and really respect the campaign that they've waged for nearly 160 days now. They have shown extraordinary resilience and real strength. But it's also why I don't like to see them being promised outcomes that we all know, even though some of us will only admit it privately, but we all know are not possible to achieve. That isn't right, and it's not honest. In terms of the government's role, we will make sure that the legal rights of the workers are fully vindicated. That means making sure that they get at least 2 weeks per year of service of statutory redundancy pay. And if the liquidator in the company can't pay that, we'll pay for it out of the Social Insurance Fund and pursue it later. We'll make sure they get whatever welfare payments and income support they're entitled to, and we'll make sure that they're given opportunities to retrain, to access adult education, help to find a new job. Anything additional to that, anything extra, can only be secured in negotiations between the union and the liquidator. And I think those negotiations should resume, as the Taoiseach said yesterday. Mandate the trade union, I believe, is doing its very best. I heard the head of the union on the radio yesterday saying that they will do their best to secure the best deal possible. The best deal possible may not be the best deal, it may not be a good deal, but they will try to secure the best deal possible. And I do believe Mandate has acted in good faith in that regard, working on behalf of their members, and we continue to engage with Mandate and ICTU to assist in any way we can. Government has had a good engagement with Congress in recent days, examining possible changes to employment rights law that might give collective agreements more legal weight in situations like this. But obviously that will require a degree of work, and Minister English corresponded with Patricia King, the head of ICTU, on this only the other day. Just on 2 other points, I really think it is disingenuous to make a connection between the Cleary's dispute and this dispute. Cleary's was a very different situation. There was a substantial property asset on O'Connell Street, and because of that, the owners of that asset were able to make a settlement offer to the workers. This situation is very different. The only asset appears to be some stock in the stores, probably valued at about 10 million. The value of that reducing every day that this dispute goes on, and there are a lot of other claims on that asset. Claims from workers who have unpaid pay and unpaid annual leave. Claims from other businesses, for example, that have unpaid debts. Claims from local authorities for unpaid rates, and claims from the Irish public, unpaid taxes. And the Revenue Commissioners has no authority in law to waive somebody's tax obligations. This is public money. It belongs to all the people of Ireland. There are times when the Revenue Commissioners aren't able to collect certain taxes, but they can't just waive it when they are able to collect it. And that would be very unfair on the Irish people for the Revenue Commissioners to suddenly be given the power, which they don't have at the moment and couldn't be given retrospectively anyway, to say that some companies and some people don't have to pay their taxes. If the money can be recovered, if taxes can be recovered, the Revenue Commissioners have an obligation on behalf of the Irish people to make sure those taxes are paid.
Thank you very much, Tánaiste, to Deputy Boyd Barrett.
Yeah, first of all, Tánaiste, just to make it clear, the points I put to you now were not points that I dreamed up, but they came directly from the Debenhams workers that I was talking to this morning. They're their arguments, their proposals, and I agree with them. And I'm glad you mentioned Cleary's, because what the Debenhams workers pointed out this morning is that precisely the same situation operated in Cleary's. You see, the Cleary's owners did the same sort of trick, or tried to do the same trick, that Debenhams are doing. There was 2 companies in Cleary's. There was a trading company that had no assets, none. And then there was a property company that owned the building. And still they got a deal. Not a very good deal, but better than the deal they would have got had they not fought. That's exactly what's going on here. The claim that Debenhams Ireland doesn't have assets is not true. There's millions and millions of assets in the stores. More than that, artificial debt was loaded on the company, and there's a retail business still operating, all run by a parent company that has massive assets. Okay, so this is a manipulation of the situation, and therefore it is absolutely right and correct, particularly because of the government's own failure over years to address the issues arising out of Cleary's and other disputes, to say that they will secure the monies necessary in order to pay the 2 plus 2, and don't forget the point I made about all the taxes those Debenhams workers paid to revenue, which give absolutely them a moral claim on the revenue's position on the creditors' list.
Thank you. Tánaiste, to conclude, please.
Thanks, Deputy. You know, I've engaged with the workers too. I've met them. I've engaged with Mandate, the union. I've engaged with ICTU. I've spoken directly to Debenhams UK, and I've sought advice from the Attorney General. And the facts that I have are different to yours. And the basic fundamental facts are different as follows. Cleary's was a very different situation. There was a very substantial, valuable asset, a building on O'Connell Street, and the owners of that were able to make an ex gratia settlement to the workers. In this case, there aren't assets of that value. There's stock worth maybe 10 million, diminishing in value every day, and there are lots of other claims on that asset. And those who have claims will not receive all of the money that they perhaps would like to receive. In relation to Debenhams UK, have spoken to them, have it in writing from them. They are a UK-based company. They're a separate legal entity in a different country. They say that they have put 30 million euros into Debenhams in Ireland over the past couple of years. This is a company that was in trouble for a long time, was an examinership 3 or 4 years ago. They say they've put 30 million euros into it. They won't be getting that money back. They've laid off staff in the UK. Their UK staff have only got statutory redundancy. And while you say they have 90 million in the bank, that can't possibly be the full story, because Debenhams UK itself is in examinership or administration. A company that has massive assets in the bank doesn't end up in examinership or administration. So if they do have massive amounts of money in the bank, they must also have massive liabilities and debts as well.
Thank you very much.